Yo, this is Alberto speaking to you from the future. I thought that we'd have a little chit chat before you listen to our new podcast. First off, thank you, dear listener, for choosing us. There are thousands of podcasts that you could have chose from, and you decided to pick us, so I really appreciate that. And to our OG fans, our legacy fans, you're the real ones. Thank you for sticking with us since the Two Bros podcast days, which you're probably wondering what happened to Two Brothers. So I thought I'd get into a little bit of a backstory for that, as well as what this new podcast is about. So just bear with me. Hopefully this is short and sweet. Two Brothers podcast was formed by me and my brother, Edgar, sort of as a reaction of COVID-19, and just being stuck indoors, quarantine, that sort of stuff. We just did this silly little podcast where we just talked about video games and movies, and we didn't think nothing of it. We were just doing the podcast and still kind of have that same mentality. This is just something for us to do that's fun. But, around 2022, 2023, we had a guest come onto the show, a good friend of mine. His name is Josh. He's also one of the hosts of this new podcast. And that's when we started to feel kind of a shift in Two Brothers. It didn't really feel like it was a podcast about two brothers talking about video games or pop culture and stuff like that. It started to become more of a podcast that included two brothers and some friends, some pals. And that's kind of what it was, or, what it was towards the end there, where we were just talking about movies and critiquing them and what our thoughts were, doing retrospectives, etc. And then around, I'd say the beginning of last year, we added another guest that sort of became more of a regular on our podcast, and that's Eric, who's also one of the hosts of this new podcast. And that's when I just started to think, you know what? I don't think this is Two Brothers anymore. This is something different. So I started cooking up an idea for like a rebrand of what this podcast is. And I came to the title of Show Us Your Basement. And so Show Us Your Basement is really just kind of extracting everything that made those episodes with Josh and Eric really fun and engaging for us and hopefully for the listeners into a new podcast. So, debates, talking about, our controversial opinions on movies, etc. And that's kind of what this podcast is. So let me break it down for you. Show Us Your Basement is where all four of us come together. We talk about a movie or like a director, maybe music in the future. I don't know what we're going to be doing with this podcast, but for now it's strictly film. And we just give our opinions on it, and we rank it from greatness. Show Us Your Greatness, which I think that's sort of self-explanatory. It's great. It's one of the GOATs, I guess. Show Us Your Goodness, which is a step below great. Has some flaws, but it's all around a solid film. Then there's Show Us Your Midness, which is also pretty self-explanatory. That's like mediocre. It's neither bad nor good. It just kind of sits in the middle. And then there's Show Us Your Basement, which is the worst of the worst. When you think of walking to someone's house and you're just not sure what they're keeping in their basement. You don't know if you got some skeletons in your closet down there. I don't know. You just want to lock the door and throw away the keys, sort of thing. That's what Show Us Your Basement is. It's the worst of the worst. That's what this podcast is. And, it's nothing new. It's not really kind of innovative, but it definitely, I hope, is going to be entertaining for people to listen to and hopefully in the future watch as we try to implement a video element to the podcast. But, it's really just four guys in a room talking about movies. We'll be glazing them, we'll be shitting on them, we'll be debating them, whatever it is. And hopefully, in the end, we create a product that people will find enjoyable to listen to on their commute to work or when they're at work, whatever it is. That's kind of what the goal is here. So thank you guys for choosing us and choosing this podcast to listen to. We really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And, this podcast lives and dies with you guys. We're doing this for you. So please, comment down below. Tell us what you think of this podcast. It's messy, I'm sure. It's raw, but hopefully our opinions really resonate with you guys. I hope it's very, authentic. And I really, we want to keep doing this. We banked a few episodes and we're releasing them, and I'm going to personally be seeing what you guys think of it, what your reactions are. And this is our first episode, our pilot episode, as it were. And please follow us on our socials. It's going to be some form or variation of Show Us Your Basement at Instagram. It'll be in the link in the description below, or the description box, whatever it is. So yeah, without further ado, I know I've ranted a little bit there, but here's Show Us Your Basement, episode 1, where we talk about Alien. You will hear me sort of break down what this podcast is again, just because we pre-recorded these, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, so here it is. Without further ado, it's out into the world. It's for you guys to listen to. I hope you guys enjoy it. It is Show Us Your Basement, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Planning on stealing something?
No, ma'am, we're not.
Plan on murdering me in my sleep?
What? No. Where do you get off? Just a couple of people who totally got off, bro.
Hey, show us your basement.
What? No.
Welcome to Show Us Your Basement. I am your host, Alberto, and I'm joined by my brother Edgar, and then I'm also joined here by Eagle superfan Eric, and then that motherfucker right over there, Josh, Corporate America, as he likes to call himself.
Corporate America.
Oh, okay, because I've said that often. Right, gentlemen?
Yeah,
It's not
right.
captain, it's
Wow.
corporate.
Okay.
Corporate America.
Wow.
Today we are going to be discussing quite possibly what is regarded as one of the greatest sci-fi horror movies of all time. Eric, I know that you are a huge fan of this franchise that we're going to be talking about, specifically the very first one. Give us an introduction. Please tell us, what are we going to be talking about today on Show Us Your Basement?
So we've decided to talk about Alien, and I think there's some anticipation amongst us with the show that's coming out on August 12th on Hulu, Alien Earth, which has definitely grasped our attention in many of the trailers. Not sure how I feel about it just yet. I like to stay kind of skeptical, and I kind of have the expectations are low and then hope for the best. I always kind of go into that. So obviously we're going to talk about Alien, which is where it started back in 1979. It is a Ridley Scott film, and this was a movie that, for me, I saw when I was very, very young. This was back in the VHS days, and it terrified me to my core, but at the same time, it left me with a lot of mystery and wanting to know more about the film franchise and understanding, where does this all start? Where's it all coming from? Yeah. And it also opened up the door to a lot of action figure lines, games down the line, some of which I have collected in from the toy dynamic to playing the games.
Don't forget about comic books.
And obviously there's the comic books, which kind of came out a little bit later, maybe in the mid-90s, something like that, primarily through Dark Horse. So I am very excited to talk about it. And I appreciate everybody here wanting to join in on this conversation. And hopefully it's I think we're all looking to kind of have a good time with it and kind of break it down a little bit and see what we like and don't like about it.
Yeah, so. I think, for those who are uninitiated, if this is your first time listening to Show Us Your Basement, we rank films based off our personal, opinions. We rank them through Show Us Your Greatness, Show Us Your Goodness, Show Us Your Midness, and then Show Us Your Basement. I'm kind of interested in seeing what you guys thought, especially Edgar, because you're kind of not the biggest Alien fan, but obviously this is where it all started, so kind of interested in what you're going to say about it. But we're going to go through the best parts, which is the greatness moments of this film, the midness moments of the film, and basement moments of the film, if there is any to be had, which I think is going to be difficult when we get to it. But because you guys, Eric and Josh, you're probably the bigger fans of this franchise more than Edgar and I think I'll have you guys kick it off. What do you guys think? Was it a treat rewatching this film? Tell us what was great, the greatness, or where should we start?
Well, I think I'm kind of curious to know how Josh feels. I know it's easy to you opened up you segued to me immediately or at the opening.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to hear where Josh stands with this. We haven't talked about it in a while. It's something we have talked about in the past, but now that we actually are in the setting to where we want to put this out into the ether, I'm kind of curious to know where you stand on this in terms of greatness for you.
No, thank you, Eric. The timing of this movie, if you think about it, sci-fi was like really big. Star Trek was out, right? Star Wars had come out, a couple years before this as well. And, audience wanted more, and if my memory serves me correctly, Star Wars was actually what created this movie. And what actually made this even better, it wasn't just a sci-fi thriller action movie, but it was a legitimate sci-fi horror movie. And to think about the Xenomorph hunting, stalking its prey, it's almost, you can consider it a slasher film at its best as well.
Right. I think you're right. I think it does have the slasher element. And you do bring up a good point about the 70s were the time where you really started to see a transition of really good film becoming like great on a legendary level, especially in the science fiction. And to your point, Star Wars did start this. They definitely started it with the way that they filmed the movies, with the dynamic of the puppetry, the animatronics, the puppets, making it look like you can reach in and like touch it. You can just tell with your eyes, like, man, that looks like a person, but it's not a person, like the movements. And Alien captures this in their version. Ridley Scott captures this. And I think for me, I rewatched it again recently, obviously. And though I know it's an old movie, and you can look at a lot of the technology in the movie and it looks, like outdated to what we see now, it still doesn't look like an outdated movie. Like, it looks like it's rock solid.
I agree.
Like, there's nothing going on in the environment that you look at like, man, that just looks like shit. It doesn't. It still looks the way it looks.
I think what the word you're really looking for here is that it's timeless.
Correct.
It really is time. Because when I was watching this movie, first off, like, such a great opening, by the way. Like, just like with the title card slowly coming into view. The technology, like you were talking about, like it feels like this movie, had it come out like even last year, people would still watch it and be like, yeah, no, this is a movie that was made in 2024. Like, it just feels timeless. Everything about it, like so I mean, I appreciate you touching on that, because I 100% agree.
Thank you for bringing up the title card, because that has turned out to be like a very iconic theme for them now. And the title card, and really like with the entry music, or as you guys would call the score, it almost sounds like this wind blowing in, like this spooky, weird, like you can't quite figure out what it is, like an unidentifiable sound, like swooping in slowly as they're bringing in the title card, as you would say.
The title card kind of throws you off a little bit, because you think it's going to be like alien writing, being that it's an alien movie.
I thought the same thing too.
But it's actually building you up to just what the title itself is.
What did you think of the intro?
I enjoyed it. Like, just like you guys said, it feels like timeless. Mm-hmm. I agree. Even Eric was pointing out the score. Like, it's not even how do you say, like piano or like no. Yeah. It's just like wind.
There's very like Silent Hill, like just sort of like ambient kind of
noise,
music.
Yeah.
It's not really like crescendoing to anything. It's kind of just like minimal.
Just like right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that feeling of being alone.
Basically, yeah.
You're alone. No one can hear you scream, as they say.
Just as an aside, have you guys played the Alien Isolation game?
I have not played Alien Isolation, so that's a knock on me.
I have to like admit that was kind of my introduction to the Alien like universe proper, was through Isolation, and playing through the game, seeing like how much they took from the first movie, like the set designs, the environments, and then going and watching this movie, I was like, oh my god, like this was just ripped out from like the movie, like when they did the game. Like that's how iconic the environments are, the music, the score. It's like I have to praise it. Like that was fantastic.
So going back to Timeless, it forces movies nowadays to go back to the beginning, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Right? So this movie, what makes it so timeless is, yes, it looks old. Yes, it looks dingy. It's in the dark. It's shot in the dark like majority of the time.
I wouldn't even say it's like dingy. It's like clean, but also there's like I don't know. Yeah, but
it's very practical with like smoke effects and the
not
lighting.
in a bad way.
You can't really see. There's like moments in the movie where you kind of feel like you can't see, and there's strobe lights, and it's not very clear. But it doesn't take away from the quality. I think it adds to the nostalgia.
Absolutely, but it allows. So Prometheus. Okay, one of the faults, in my opinion, with Prometheus is it's quote unquote in the same universe. Obviously, it is. But the technology was not the same. It didn't seem like it was in the same world. If anything, it's for a prequel, it's more advanced.
Absolutely, I agree.
And
I do agree.
That irked me. I think it irked a lot of Alien fans as well.
Like the technology didn't carry over.
Correct. You know, it was a different movie. It was a standalone movie in itself. Technically not. But then when you look at Romulus, what did they do? They go back to the first Alien
and
movie.
Made it look really good.
Absolutely.
And that speaks to everything that they did in the movie, to where they're like, okay, wait, they did something right. This is so great, we got to replicate it.
Yeah.
Right.
Edgar, you're going to say something?
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, like, because you also played Alien Isolation. That's kind of your kind of view, like, into the franchise. Like, did you also notice the same kind of like, oh shit, like the.
Like the oh my that
like the computer,
the computers, the androids,
yeah.
Everything, yeah. Well, I want to say maybe my introduction to the was Aliens.
Oh, the second
one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because I thought for some reason that one was the first one. For some reason, in my opinion.
Okay.
Though then I realized this one is the first one. Yeah. So I went back and watched this, and yeah.
So how do you feel? How did you feel? Because I think sometimes I've had moments in my life where I see a sequel first and don't realize it's a sequel.
Right, yeah.
And then you go back and watch the original, and sometimes the original feels, if you liked the sequel version, it can be maybe hard to grasp to the first one. How did you feel?
Well, then when I came to watch this one, to be honest, I didn't like it.
Oh, really? Initially, you weren't a fan.
I wasn't a fan.
I kind of have to.
That was years ago, though. Years. But when I watched it again yesterday, it's like, okay, I appreciate it more where it stands and how it is. Like, to me, it feels like it's the first sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah, it really does feel like that. Yeah.
You know,
I hate to say this, gentlemen, but it actually came out a few years before The Thing. So did it set that expectation in sci-fi horror isolation?
I don't know if you guys also know this, but the writer of this film, he did when he was in school, like film school, did a movie similar to basically just Alien, but it was the comedy, like it was like a comedy version of it, where it was like a lone survivor or like a lone astronaut was being stalked by like an alien, but it was like it's called exercise balls. And that's what they used for like the alien. It was supposed to be like very like cheesy and whatever. And it was John Carpenter who directed that, who helped him like make
really?
that. And then it was years later, he was like, I like that idea. Let's flip it and make it a horror movie instead. Like the same concept, but instead of humor and have it be comedy, just let's actually flip it on instead and make it a horror film. Which I thought was like, oh, that's really cool. And it's such a simple premise too, right? Like such a simple idea.
Yeah, it's very simple. And I think what really, as I got older and watched it and learned to love it even more, I start to see like the politics that are dug into the story. you start to wonder, you know, when I was young, I'm like, well, why would they just go look for a transmission out? Like, why would they risk them? So, and then you realize it's this greedy corporation that knows it already has like intel somewhere. It's kind of a mystery, but they know that there's this alien presence, this ship that's out there that might be carrying sensitive cargo. And of course, they're going to grasp onto the kind of blue collar mining crew to go out there because they're expendable. And I love how in the beginning of the movie, you're like wondering about this alien and they're bickering about bonuses. I need to get paid if I'm going to do like, you want me to go out there and look at this? Let's talk about the bonus situation. Like this is in 1979. Nothing's changed. Yeah. It's gotten worse. So it's extremely relatable on that front when you're just like, oh, we're okay. I guess they're just telling us what we have to do. You know,
that's actually a huge debate, and that a lot of people make in this movie is: did they find this ship by accident, or did the corporation send them? And there's like subtle hints in the movies where, like, for example, there are crew that have been together for a long time. They've worked together, and they're like, who is this new med science officer, right? Yeah. And they're like, oh no, I don't know, something happened to blah blah blah, and then they brought him in, right? Which kind of alludes to like,
switched it up last minute.
They switched it up last minute because they know that something is out there, and they, to Eric's point, want that technology. You know, so it was planned from the get-go.
Josh is talking about the android Ash. His name is Ash in the movie, and yes, there is a part, like a pretty important part, where Captain Dallas is talking to Ripley, and he's like, "Well, they switched him out last minute," just further proving like, all right, they're up.
Something's off. Yeah. No, I like that element added into it because it speaks onto that like fear of like, did these people, like, did you really have any control over your own, like, not your own life, but, like, just, are you really in charge? Who's really pulling the strings? It's like that mystery, you know, that adds to it. So I really like that. That was really cool. I like that.
Another great thing about this movie is the human aspect of things. The movie starts right off the bat that they're all sleeping, right? They all wake up together. And then they immediately are eating breakfast together, right?
It's like a family.
Yeah, you know, they're a team, and you're watching these people talk to each other, and you're immediately like feeling for each one of these individuals. And then they go on this mission, and then something happens, you know, they come back, and then what do they do again? They're eating together, they're talking to one another, you know, and then something happens, and then they're all freaking out and watching something happen. Yeah, Kane
gets Kane's the one who, when they go out to investigate the transmission, which is established pretty early in the movie, they go out to the planet, they go out to the ship, and meanwhile Ripley's inside like, hey, trying to tell Ash the android like, hey, this isn't an SOS, this is a warning, you know, and he's like, well, they'll already know if it's a warning, they're already out there. Like, you could just tell, like, it's just building up to this, like, that's also another sign of like, well, why is he so he seems to be so casual about the well-being of his crewmates. So to kind of get back to like the greatness, like just everything about the opening and how it kind of builds with the characters, and like you said, they are like a family, but they're also living in this corporate kind of retail dynamic that we can all relate to about, well, that's what the company wants us to do, right? It's what we're told to do. And it's just this like expendable feeling. It's if you're in that, if you kind of exist in that world, that's something you can really relate to. So I just think it touches a lot of things, and we're not even to the part where the alien is here. Like we're not even at that. We're just at like basic. Like you said, it's not a complicated story. It's not. Like there is the shady dynamic with the corporation going on.
I think that's what kind of you see for the first, like, I don't know, 30 to 40 minutes is just really like the politics of what to do. What are we going to like do? Like when the face hugger gets on the helmet and they're like trying to figure out like, oh, do we let him in? Maybe we shouldn't. It's going to contaminate. It's like just those little like scenarios. How do they deal with this alien organism that makes you feel like, oh man, like that's how it would kind of play out if the situation actually like existed, if we were in this you know.
Right.
So
Right.
I really like that, you know.
Well, real quick, hold on. I'm gonna ask Edgar a question in a second that's important. But lastly, I want to touch on the because they're showing it right now, and I was thinking about this. The special effects in this movie were all done with like what they're showing, like with models and
practical
like,
effects.
practical effects that literally just look real. That's why I think some of the timelessness of it is like, okay, that's not some computer generated thing, and they really did blend it in with like a background of their interpretation of deep space would look like, to where it doesn't look off. You're just like, man, that looks like it could really be floating around out in space out there. So I guess I'll segue to Edgar. Yeah. So I'm really excited to hear if you're going to go down to kind of a mid, things that got you on the mid, if you have any.
Good. Okay.
I would love to hear kind of where your thoughts are on that.
Let's start poking some holes in it. Come on.
Yeah, there's got to be some hole.
So we're done talking about the greatness.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about
well, partially.
Sigourney
partially.
Okay.
But you can go ahead and start it.
If you wherever you want, go ahead.
All right. Actually, when you guys were talking about this, I was like looking at my notes, like, fuck. Is this basement tier or like mid? Is the pacing in the beginning? It's still
throws you off.
It still throws me off a little bit. Like you said, it takes 40 to 50 minutes to get,
really going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about how if, let's say we showed it to someone younger than us, will they sit through that? Would they enjoy that slow pace? And to me, I enjoy it because the thing does the same thing. The Shining does the same thing. It's a slow paced movie.
Yeah.
I was just thinking in that mindset of like, I would say okay. I think it's mid, not like basement tier.
Yeah.
It's the pacing in the first act.
And it sounds like you really have to convince yourself it's mid.
Yeah.
Because I will add this, and this is a fact. I think you're not wrong. Like if you try to show someone that was younger, well, showing somebody younger in today's world, with where movies are compared to back when I watched this, it's very different. But you got to remember, the movie is rated R.
Yes.
Which back then was pretty hard-lined to, if you're 16 or older, you can watch this, right? So I think the target audience certainly was not meant for a younger crowd. Obviously, back in the 70s, this was really geared. This was kind of gearing away from what Star Wars was doing, where they were really trying to. Star Wars had a much larger reach. You know what I mean? Like their reach was probably bigger. The movies were PG-13 and they were very action-oriented, and there was a lot of unique little characters, but it wasn't like a savagery, scary thing. It's interesting you talk about the pacing, because I think what makes this movie great, and I'll just say it now, this is my favorite movie of all time. I'm actually having a hard time poking holes. I'm okay with people poking holes, but for me what's difficult is this movie's 2 hours long, and the Xenomorph has 7 minutes of screen time. 7 minutes of screen time, and yet in those 7 minutes, it's just like kind of on the edge of your seat, like what's going on? Like every corner you turn, like when Captain Dallas is down in the, I don't know what they are, some kind of ducts.
The ducts.
He's in the ducts, like looking for it because they're trying to isolate it to see if they can kill it. And he's down there, and they can't quite pin out where he is, and he's having to make these like last minute decisions. Am I going to climb up the ladder, down the ladder? And he goes down, and boom, there it is. And it's just a quick little bang, and it's over. Yeah. And there's no explanation. They keep it very vague. It's the same with Brett, the guy who went looking for the kitty. I think he was the second death, technically. He's like walking into this. It's like a slow death. I feel like his death was slow because you knew it was coming the moment he walked off alone looking for that fucking stupid cat. You're like, this guy's out here looking for this cat, and he walks in, and sure enough, like it kind of comes from out of nowhere, and that's the first image of you seeing it at a full size. So you're kind of like, whoa, you don't know what to expect because earlier it had come out of Kane, burst out of Kane. It was just tiny, and then he finds the shedding, and then he goes into the room, and then it comes down, and then you see it in its more full size form, and then that's it. It's just quick little like boom, 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 and you're just left wondering what the fuck just happened. So 7 minutes of airtime in 2 hours, and they were able to accomplish so many of these little like on your toe moments, like looking over your shoulder, who's gonna die, who's living, So that's just interesting. I just wanted to kind of point that out. But the screen time you know.
It's going to be hard for me to nitpick this movie as well, but if I were to actually nitpick, the one thing that I disliked, and I think Alberto can agree with this one, is just so dark. You know, and
Talking about the visual,
right? You know,
okay.
and
like actually like dark, like
yeah,
can't see
you know,
anything.
and they had to, right? Because they're dealing with, you know, a guy in a costume. They obviously didn't want to show you so much of it as a costume, so in order to do so, they had to make these scenes dark. But they throw out these like little subtle hints to kind of like surprise you and to build up to the Xenomorph attacking. Like, so when they're down in that little like cargo area, for example, there's a scene where they walk by and then you see the Xenomorph hanging. Okay,
I think that's in the extended edition.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when you watch it's not there. I was watching for it.
Really?
Because I was like, why is it? And then I forgot. Oh yeah, there's an extended edition.
That's my problem with this movie too. But again, it's just nitpicking. But if you don't have like good quality, or if you're not paying attention, the chances of you missing that is going to happen if you're going to watch it on YouTube, for example, or if you're going to watch it on VHS back in the day, you're going to miss a lot of these things. And going back to that like director's cut, Ridley Scott came out and said he regrets doing the director's cut. He's actually happier with the theatrical release, and that the director's cut was just a cash grab. Right, you know, just trying to milk that. But again, that's just nitpicking. But it's just so dark. Going back to my topic earlier, just shot so dark, where you are missing a lot of things. I genuinely do believe.
No, I agree. I feel like that if, and maybe this is something that you guys will say that I'm wrong about, but I just feel like there's retroactively, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but like watching it, not having seen it when it came out and everything, and how I was introduced to Alien and stuff like that, I don't know if I bought into the tension of the film with the actual alien. And Eric was talking about the kills and everything. I don't know if they were as impactful as I think it could have been for me. It didn't stick with me. I think the one scene that really stuck with me was the chestburster scene, just because of how quick and like, just the word I would describe that is like panic in that whole scene. Like everyone just like freaking out and all that. But beyond that, like the kills were just kind of, I don't know, it didn't really stick with me as much as it probably did with you or Josh.
Right. Let's go back to the chestburster scene. How did you feel? I'll start with you. How did you feel watching that scene? How would you describe the way it looks now?
It still looks good. That's what I was waiting for when I was watching that scene. The chestburster was like, is it gonna take me out of it? Is it gonna look too cheesy? Like, no, it actually still was like shot.
It's pretty horrific, even to this day. So you got to try to imagine being in a theater in 1979 watching that, because I don't know if there was much like that back then. And I understand the kills part; they're not glorious, but I think it's more of like the stealth and the difficulty and the mystery of where do the people go, because they never actually recover anybody in the crew, and you just wonder like, well, where is it taking them? I think you're kind of, if you've never seen it, you're probably wondering, is there going to be this climax of where we're going to find these people?
The corpses? Yeah,
you never do.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't know. I just feel like, because Halloween came out before this, right?
Correct.
So I feel like Halloween did the same approach where it's like, it was very minimalistic with its deaths. But I feel like they had more impact on me than the deaths in this one, just because you could see the aftermath of what Michael Myers did.
Certainly more personalized in Halloween, for sure. And I get that.
Yeah.
But what's good though is I think for me is it does split the two movies apart from each other to where they're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I'm just making that up.
Josh, Eric brought up the minimal of the Alien. And I was thinking, like, there's another horror film that does that too, but it works perfectly. And I think it's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
they don't
Freddy,
show Freddy as much as either. And he's like, I think it's like 7 minutes of that film.
That's true.
And it still works.
I would say the biggest thing is also, again, the lighting. It really is.
I think that's what the thing is. That you really need to buy into, and it does for the most part work for me. Where it's like, it earns those moments with the alien, with the Xenomorph, and revealing it. Like it doesn't take you out of it when they show them in its full like size and everything. So I do think it's definitely earned for sure. Like seeing the actual Xenomorph. It's just I wish they would have executed it more better with the kills. That's just me.
Yeah, I wonder too, because as you watch these films progress through the years, through the decades, the kills become horrific, like they're just bloodshed. And so I'm wondering if there was maybe just the times, because I remember talking to my dad about this, and he said that like that chest bursting scene back then was like kind of controversial, like they felt like at the time they were going too far with it. So I wonder if maybe Ridley had more plans. I don't know, maybe he did or didn't, to make it more intense, like to crank up the intensity of the kills, and just that one scene was just going to maybe take it too far to begin with.
I think they did.
I don't know,
but they had to like tone it down a little bit, because the idea of the Xenomorph is, this creature face hugs you, it rapes you, it impregnates you, right? So
it's very like intimate,
and you got to keep in mind, it's the 70s, different times, things like that. I want to go back to that actually chest bursting scene. You know what I really love about that scene actually is it's a very like random scene, right, and chaotic scene, but Ash is the only one that's not freaking out.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Did you notice that? Yeah,
he's
observing. He's watching.
And then when it really is like, oh, this is like he recognizes like, oh, this is a serious, like what's going on here, and then he like steps in and tries to help. But I noticed that too. I was like, oh, he's the only one that's like chill about it. So I actually I appreciate you bringing that up, because I did like that part. Yeah.
Well, I think we're missing also another. I shouldn't have gone over it, but look, when they find the ship, the derelict ship, and I do believe it's now has a name. It's called the Juggernaut, I believe, is what it's actually referred to. When you think about when they find that, and there's nothing to it, right? Like in terms of a backstory, they just find this ship, and it's so mysterious. And then they walk in, they find what we know now as an engineer, but back then it was not. It was just like, whoa, what is this thing in this chair? And it's interesting that they highlight a different alien before they actually reveal the alien, but they leave you kind of thinking like, well, is that what I'm going to see later? Like, you don't really know.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good,
it's just interesting that they have that little dynamic built into the movie where they find this completely other fossilized body, and they drop down into the cargo, this like vast empty void of cargo, find the eggs. Like he said, it's like very intimate. Like it's like a kind of rapey, not that I'm promoting, but that's what it feels like, right? Yeah. Especially for the times. So a lot of mystery, and it just kind of has your brain wondering like, all right, what's going on here? And then they get back and it's over, and it does leave you kind of in a lurch, but I don't know if it's bad, like a bad lurch. It's just like there is a lot of it feels like there's maybe a lot of loose ends at times, like where the body's going, where did the ship come from, who's in the chair. So, but I think that's kind of maybe the identity of the movie. It's just kind of just like loose ends as it progresses, because as she is trying to escape, she doesn't really kill the Xenomorph. She just kind of blows it out of the escape pod, If I'm going to poke a hole, and I will, I think the one thing that stood out to me, and it's not even bad, it's like you had to do it. Maybe they could have done it a little differently. The Xenomorph getting into the escape pod, it's kind of hard to like map out how that would have happened during the last sequence where there's a lot of, it's very dark, a lot of strobe lights, and I think it's all intentional because they just want like a quick shot of the face peeking around the corner, right? They don't want you to see a lot, so they're trying to mask it. But I think about like her pattern trying to run to this escape pod, and I'm thinking, this thing got on there before she did. So maybe that's kind of one area where I felt like, could they have cleaned that up? I don't know. Maybe not.
No, that was a moment that for me really kind of was jarring. I feel like it was like that false sort of like, oh, she escaped, but then it's he's still. I enjoyed that, but I feel like it feels a little rushed. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word, but it just didn't. It didn't really like.
That was the
You know.
one part I would say where it was like a little bit. That's what you're talking about. That is director's cut because that was not in the. We're watching the movie
That's
on.
such a good shot.
We've got
That was
highlights
so-
of the movie
that's
on
kinda
the,
creepy,
the
man.
screen.
Yeah.
But I do think that having the Xenomorph in the escape pod to kind of give you that, oh, she hasn't really escaped yet. She just blew this ship up for nothing. Does give you that feeling of like, oh my god. Like, so having it in the escape pod to me was very necessary, but I think it was just getting there. But we're kind of nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
You know what little things I liked about this movie too, though? And it wasn't even necessary, but they did it anyway. Like the detail of how she like started the self-destruct sequence. Like it literally shows her like pulling up these tubes, like using tools to like unscrew it. Like there's like this level of like patience, and like you're kind of thinking to yourself like, why is this taking so long? Like you've got this alien creature that's twice your size right around the corner, and you're unscrewing these things. So it kind of adds this element of like, yeah, things in life take a little bit of time to do, and you're under this like immense pressure.
Yeah.
While this thing's breathing down your neck. I thought that was just an interesting kind of like part of the movie.
Like,
it's like
it
that's
added
the,
more tension to it?
It added more tension. They could have easily just skipped over it to where she pressed a button or opened up a computer screen. But no, she's like literally like laboring to pull these things up.
It also just adds
know.
to the realism of the technology that they're trying to portray.
Right,
How like
right.
futuristic it is, and it's like, yeah, it's like it's adding more layers to it. That's like not necessary, but they do it anyways. Yeah, I agree too. Yeah,
You know, we failed to actually talk about the main character, Ripley.
so let's talk about
Yeah,
it.
it's time to dive into Ripley because I think this is where we need to.
I know we're going back
know.
to greatness,
That's okay.
you know, and I think we've kind of talked about mid, but let's go back to greatness a little bit. Is that, you know, before there was this word called woke, strong female leads, she was the definition of that, you know, and obviously her character development from this to kind of being quiet, shy, you know, I don't know how to really define her, but she wasn't as strong as she was.
She was like you would look at her like a secondary character.
Unassuming.
Thought,
You thought she was. No, absolutely. And you're really surprised that she ends up surviving.
Yeah.
And she's a very strong character, and I really appreciated that about her. And that, again, what do you call what's the horror?
Oh, final girl.
She's the final girl
She is.
in this movie.
Well, isn't oh no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say something that Laurie Strode was also like laid the blueprint for that as well. But I think that she same thing too. Like she's just strong female character that's like smart, intelligent. Going back to that scene with like the letting those people back in. It's like I'm not sure if I should do that. Like she's really the one that's like sensible out of everybody. Everyone's kind of have their moments where they shine, but she's really the one that like sticks to her guns for the most part. So
Yeah.
yeah I appreciate that.
No, I think bringing up Ripley was like a huge. Honestly, I think she kind of becomes like the most important part in some ways because, like you said, it was probably an unprecedented time. I can't think of movies back in that era that used the female as the lead, a lead female character.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Not many, at least.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Like as the lead, and I think what you said, everything you said about her was like she's the final girl, and I think she embodies the character very well. She does have like a very tough, like blue collar kind of feel to her in this movie that fits the environment, and she's got like a little bit of an attitude, and she's got pushback, and she really owns it too. Like she's tough. She doesn't like back down to it where some of the other characters are a little bit more panicked and kind of all over the place, and that's kind of how they get themselves killed. But you could kind of see her leadership presence when she's challenging Captain Dallas, who you kind of think if you've never seen it might be the one until
Like the
until
main
he isn't.
character?
Yeah, agree.
So I think she ends up being the most iconic part I think of majority of the Alien universe is her character and her role that she plays, and it started here when she was not even seen really as the primary protagonist.
Yeah.
Probably in the early stages of the movie.
So going to the toughest part of this discussion, show us your basement. Alberto, I'll actually start with you. Mm-hmm. What about this movie is the ugly part, basement part of things?
Man, I feel like Eric touched on this a little bit, but it's almost like nitpicky. But I do think that there are a lot of not necessarily like loose ends, but they do kind of skim over a lot of the like, oh, what happened to the characters and their corpses? Do they find them? And there's a lot of mystique behind like Weyland-Yutani and their involvement in it and stuff like that. And you're just kind of left feeling, if you're someone who's watching this for the first time and not knowing anything about the Alien universe, you're just sort of like, oh, so this is just a thing that just kind of happened and she's like, Ripley just survived the alien and that was it. But other than that, I just feel like, I don't know, it's really tough for me to poke any like real holes in here. Maybe the fact that the characters besides Ripley end up becoming more like throwaways.
No, see, okay, half. Good, because I had that same note too.
You know, they're like they're strong. They have their moments, but in the end of the day, we know what's going to happen to them. We know they're going to end up getting killed, right? That's maybe like the one thing I'll say that's like weak. The weakest part of the film is that, other than Ripley, are the other characters memorable? Would you say they're memorable, Josh?
Not at all. I agree. You know, and it does a really good job going back to my statement earlier about character development, feeling for these, humanizing the characters, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're, to your point, just tossing them to the side, right? Yeah. Just pulling them out, plucking them one by one.
But it's like they're not dumb. They're not making like dumb decisions. No, they're making decisions that are like human. Like with Prometheus, you can argue there's characters there that are like, oh, why did she make this decision? Why did he do this? Versus here, it's like, yeah, they're still throwaways, but at least you know that they were.
Well, they're trying to make logical decisions on what to do.
Yeah.
Which actually I think can, I don't want to say give them a pass. It gives them reason to why they're dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. No, it just that was one of my other notes. It's like,
that the characters are.
Ripley's the only strong one with the character development and all that, and the other ones are like underdeveloped. You don't get to know a lot about the other characters.
Maybe too is that like knowing that halfway through the film, it's like it kind of maybe becomes predictable. You know that she's gonna survive, or you know that like the alien is gonna eventually be defeated somehow, which I think takes away from the mystique that you're trying to build towards. But I don't know, man. Like that's tough to argue, though. It's really tough to argue. What do you think, Eric?
Well, I think it's not necessarily clear at all times that if you've never watched the movie that Sigourney Weaver is going. Maybe you assume she will survive, but I don't necessarily think it means that all of them are going to die. Look, you do get to know some of these characters. I think Brett and Parker, the two more of the mechanics, you do kind of know who they are. They're the two guys that are kind of like on the ground level doing all the repairs, and they're kind of griping and moaning, and they're all about the money, and they just want to get paid because they're like, I'm only going to do so much work. So they do have they have an identity. I think Captain Dallas does have a leadership presence. He does call the shots, and then he kind of gets overridden by Ash, who you find out later is just a total scumbag program to, because he's kind of a creepy character. Because when he starts to kind of lose his mind and he's trying to kill Ripley, that's when you start to wonder, like, what the fuck's going on here? So they're dealing with the Xenomorph, and then they're dealing with this kind of rampant AI synthetic being that you don't realize is a synthetic being until he starts to kind of like have that malfunction, and then he gets his head fucking bashed in. Yeah. And then it really changes. You start to realize, like, oh, okay, these people have been thrown into like kind of a meat grinder intentionally. That's kind of to me, that's the moment where you realize, all right, they're getting fucked over. Like, you can kind of see that part coming.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody else think that magazine scene was cringe when he
Okay,
rolls
that
up
was
that
a little weird.
magazine and
I'll
he's
agree
like
with that.
stuffing it in her mouth.
Yeah.
Of all the
Right.
things, like you could have, you're an android and you can just put your hand over her mouth and nose and suffocate her or something or
Right.
choke her.
Especially
you wanted
seeing,
to
like,
use a magazine.
Because then he just grabs Parker and it starts to he's really strong. Like he's inhumanly
Yeah.
strong. It's and you
I
just
think I
choose
could
that.
agree that if we're gonna go to a basement level, perhaps the magazine as a weapon might have been okay, you could have done something else.
Yeah.
But it does, when you think back to it, it does add a little bit of well, that's just a bizarre, weird, creepy thing to do. But I can understand why it's why the magazine when he could have just tried to strangle her with his bare hands. Because to Alberto's point, he grabs Parker, which made sense because you're okay, he's not a human. But you're right, the magazine thing was a little strange. But I don't know if it's they're trying to kind of not. He's trying to make it look like an accident. I don't know. It doesn't.
Maybe,
That
yeah,
part,
yeah.
I will agree with, could have been done completely different.
But again, I don't feel like it detracts away enough from the movie to be just oh, this is total garbage. It's
Right.
just.
I would also add to your point earlier, 7 minutes of the Xenomorph screen time is not satisfying at all.
Well, I think
Wow,
I don't
really?
know.
I don't think I have to agree with
You have to agree with Josh? I disagree. I think less is more in this situation.
I think less is more in the situation too, because that's what the movie is built around. Is kind of the walking around the corner and are you going to die? Nope,
Yeah.
guess not. And kind of waiting for the build up.
With the combination of how dark the movie was, the Xenomorph was black, right? You can barely see some of the kills, unfortunately, right? With the characters being written off, thrown away, I wanted more.
Well,
Unfortunately,
James Cameron does that for you.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
But
No, it
also,
does. It
also
does.
it's like.
and I'm nitpicking at this point.
No, I
guys.
get. No, I get
really,
it. I get it.
Yeah.
I have to reach, but 30 minutes of build up leading to the chest burst to the finding the skin, finding little things here and there that the Xenomorph has done around the ship, changing it a little bit into its nest or whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's in the
Director's cut, right? But that's the thing. Maybe the director's cut should be the one to watch. If you
It adds more to.
Could, but
could,
it also
but
could be. I don't know. It depends on the viewer. So
It's one of those things that's what horror does is you have to leave something to the imagination, and I feel like that's why they don't show as much of the alien. Not just because maybe if you show too much, it will be too cheesy to see how it's just a puppet or whatever. But at the same time, that's what makes the audience kind of just lean forward and see whoa, what can I see? What is that? Is that the alien? It's that's what you really are going for.
you're staying true to your roots because you're saying this about. We talked about it during the Avengers episode. Your imagination. It's the comic book. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yep.
You do have to leave a little bit to interpretation, and that starts with the ship, and then not understanding what's really going on with the ship. But does it take away from the movie? No, I think it's built into the DNA of the movie. I try to think of this movie if we did see the Xenomorph constantly bouncing off the walls,
There'd be no tension.
Yeah,
There'd be no
if
tension.
you think about it, what you saw in maybe Covenant, which is where that was the most advanced looking Xenomorph on screen. I don't think it would have worked for that kind of movie. It would have been too overpowering. To your point about Thanos and Loki, it would have been too much. I think for the way that movie was designed for the story. I think it was meant to be.
No, I think it served this film particularly, and that's why I think it makes it so iconic.
Maybe it was more of a stalker than a slasher.
Well, when I think slasher, I also think stalker as well.
It follows.
It
isn't really like slasher, but it's kind of has this creepy, stocky, it's coming.
Yeah.
And you don't always see what happens to
Right.
people when they die,
Right.
but they're dead.
fair.
I think that, and I
think
think that
that's
they
fair.
did that sensational. I think that adds to the mystique a little bit.
Yeah, don't
What's
disagree.
going on? But would you agree that's a great movie?
It follows.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Oh, I love
Absolutely.
that movie too. But I think Alien has a little bit of that kind of. Actually, let's turn that around. It Follows probably has the the DNA from that, but more advanced in a different way, a little bit in terms of
actually-
the stalking.
To correct you,
Sort of.
the source of It Follows is actually from Halloween.
Okay,
Well, I can't really argue and say this movie took elements and appreciated Halloween because Halloween came out in '78. This movie came out a year
Yeah,
later.
this is really
I
its
agree.
own, its own
It is,
thing.
but
Yeah.
it is kind of a stalker feel.
It is. It is
kind of a
stalker,
stalker
slasher. You know, and I'm nitpicking. I'm obviously when you hear my verdict at the end, you're gonna be like, oh well, Josh, you said this and you said that. You're shitting on it. I'm reaching. You know, is it a perfect movie? I wouldn't say it is. You know, but there's just so much. I just wanted more from the alien. Well, you want more from the xenomorph, and yes, you get more out of it in the others. But
Yeah.
why not give it to me? Like, why not give me a little bit more in this movie?
I think that's why you got the extended cut too. That's where you get a little more. I feel like,
Fair,
you know.
yeah, fair.
That's
So I
why,
feel
yeah.
like-
But a lot of
that's why
people
you
do-
prefer the director's cut, right? Or
I've
no?
seen the original one more
Oh,
than
okay.
the directors, but I will tell you that people received the original more than the directors too. And even Ridley Scott didn't like the director's cut as much.
The director's cut has the hanging in the chains. It also, I believe, at the end when it kills Parker and Lambert, I think it shows more of it crawling out of the floor, like much more visually. Like you see it from like a pan back view, like crawling up and standing up, like you see the whole
Don't they also
process.
show them being hung up on the wall? In the
Yes, she
directors too?
finds a couple of the crew members, Captain Dallas and Brett, already like kind of cocooned in the wall, which then carries over into the second movie. So they obviously took that
Yeah.
idea and moved it.
Yeah.
You never saw it originally, but they obviously had that thinking, which I do like that that's there. And maybe they didn't show it, and maybe they should have. But I think in 1979, I think it would have probably just made it too messy to like, okay, what's going on? I don't know how well it would have worked back then is what I'm saying in those.
But it kind of
that era.
establishes the xenomorph more of a like predator type creature of like what it's doing. So I'm not saying like I love the mystery of it, but subtle explanations of what this thing is also helps. You know,
I don't know, because then you get a movie like Covenant or like Prometheus where they try to explain too much of what the creature is or what its motivations is, if there is any. And I feel like this balances that tightrope perfectly well, where it's like you know maybe a little bit of the alien, but they don't show you too much. They're being intentional in that manner, where I feel like they're not giving you as much. And I think that had they shown too much of the xenomorph, maybe it would have taken away from the other characters, maybe from the rest of the cast. I feel like it balances it pretty well, though. I think so.
So where are you? Where are we ranking this?
Let's get into it. Let's
Yeah.
get into the ranking. I mean, Eric, I'm pretty sure I know what your ranking is. So
Yeah, I'm in the greatness category. It is my favorite of all time. I feel like it's in the perfection for me. I don't even dislike the counters to it. I think I understand like the need for more. I think anytime we watch something, there's always this need for more. And then sometimes we get more and we're like, well, it should have been less, you know? So I get that. I totally understand it. But I feel like the movie was designed a certain way and it executed it. It wasn't complicated. It was easy to digest. And it was obviously like a pioneer, a trailblazer, really the first of its kind. And it just has stuck with me all the way to now.
all right, enough. So what about you, Josh?
yes, I've nitpicked this a little bit. Yes, I've kind of hated a little bit. But from where it's come from and what it's done, this is shows your greatness. You know,
That's fair.
this movie set the bar for sci-fi horror on another level, you know, and you know, with, you know, this could have encouraged John Carpenter to make The Thing.
Wasn't the Thing that inspired him to make the Thing?
The Thing, yeah. You don't think so?
Yeah, no, I'm saying the original Thing, I
Have you
think.
seen the original Thing?
No, but I'm just saying, if we're talking about inspiration, I feel like he probably went for the thing to do the
You know,
thing.
well, the original thing I don't think was so much horror, and that's not fair to say,
fair.
just because like it's black and white. It was like what in the 50s.
Yeah. No,
You know, it was.
I think Josh is speaking to John Carpenter saw like a little bit of a bluept and said, "Okay, I think I can capture
like
this
it
in another
encouraged
way."
him,
Fair. That's
you
fair.
know, and you know, it's the isolation, the being in a ship, you know, and being stalked by this predator is just so
timeless.
and this is the movie that encouraged, you know, The Thing, Dead Space, and so forth.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
so
Got me there.
yeah, so greatness.
Edgar, where are you at?
No, it's good.
It's
a
good.
goodness. Yeah.
It's good. I'm gonna also agree. I think it shows your goodness. I keep saying this with like when we did with other episodes, but it's like it's high goodness for sure. The only reason why I wouldn't say it's greatness is just because I the way I was introduced to the alien universe with the game, with like, you know, the just like through those lens, coming into this, I'm just like it may have not just, it didn't have that impact on me the same way it did to you guys, but I understand the significance of it. I understand that it's like damn near perfect. If it may just be a perfect film, but I just think that it just didn't land with me as much as it probably did with you, and I think that's why I just have to be like, it's show me your goodness. I think it's still really good movie though, for sure.
You guys obviously were lower than this previous,
Yeah.
correct?
It was.
Like, what was yours before this?
Before this, I would say like mid.
Mid? What about
for
you?
sure.
I didn't like it.
I fell
Basement.
asleep. I fell asleep
For you.
dude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I can appreciate it now. I understand it, why it's so good, and I'll leave it like this. Like I wish I were in Eric's shoes and seen it when it came out. Like we're on VHS and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a
I
big
really-
part. Like I think what you're speaking to is kind of like what he was saying. Like it wasn't even the original one in his mind at one point. Like I get that. I think I've been there before, so I understand what you're saying, and I'm actually surprised you guys are as high as you are, and I'm glad to hear it. I'll take it.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like not to go back to the Avengers, but it's like I was young.
Just
I
go
was
back.
I was like a teenager watching that movie, and it really like stuck with me. And I'm sure like it had a different impression on you when you saw it in the theaters. And I can only talk about how it felt when I saw it. You know, so
We're not that old, Alberto. We
you
never
guys are
saw
like what
Alien.
70, I think. Or,
We never saw Alien in the movie theater. I
God.
wasn't
When
even
was your
born
birthday?
yet, Alberto.
you guys saw this when they were like the cameras were like that. And shit.
That is true.
Yeah, I was actually going to start the podcast with being like, Eric, did you see this in the movie theaters? I was like, oh, I should probably.
You know, hey, to answer, the first Alien film I ever saw in theaters was Alien Resurrection.
Oh.
I went to that opening.
I'm
weekend.
so sorry.
Hey, that's how big of a fan I was. I went to the theater to watch it.
I have you beat. I saw Alien versus Predator in the movie theater.
I have you
opening
both
night.
I think I did too.
I saw all the Saw movies in theaters, so I think that makes me.
No, hey, hold on. I like that. I'm kind of high on Saw. I'm higher on
good.
that.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I like that. Yeah. So I guess we all know where we all stand. I think this is a show us your greatness movie for you guys, which I was not surprised at that ranking. I you know, much respect. This is the movie that really kicked off the sci-fi horror genre. But let us know what you guys think. I'm really curious to see what people think. Maybe even people who haven't seen the Alien films before. Maybe you're just listening to this episode and you're like, oh, I'm going to give it a shot. Please tell us what you think. You know, I think that's engagement. That's what we really want. But that's going to do it for this episode of Show Us Your Basement. Alien is now in the books. We can no longer talk about Alien. That's it. It's over. We closed the book on it. Are you going to be watching the TV show?
I am. I'm gonna watch it.
Hell yeah. Come on.
I'm not going to watch it.
Oh,
I'm not
God.
gonna,
Soft.
I'm just going to skip on that. But anyways, no, that's... I'm happy for you guys that you guys are going to get in. Is this the first Alien TV show that's coming out?
I believe it is.
It is.
Yep.
I thought there was another one. Wasn't there another one before?
No, this is the first live action TV show, and I feel like the stakes are probably high. I mean,
If it is shitty, I wouldn't
if it's
be
shitty,
surprised.
right?
I hate to say
Exactly.
that.
If it's shitty, that stinks. But if it's great, then that really helps because
is
we
this revitalizing it, or-
need something great. I think Romulus was a good start.
Yeah.
But we need a good. This show needs to be good if this franchise is going to continue to
Holy
sustain its greatness. So
All right. That's enough said on that. Well, this has been I've been two brothers.
that's okay. Ride with it.
Yeah.
Ride with it.
It's been Show Us Your Basement, and go Birds.